So this is the renewable energy grid that we could have in 2020 if we chose to do so. So we chose to set about doing it, planning, setting it up and driving on. That's what we could have. You can see the 23 wind sites and the 12 solar sites. And this is some of the detailed modelling we did. This is using 30-minute data. You can see the wind in the blue is the first dispatch and the solar thermal coming in with firming power. The black line is the demand scaled up to 2020, including the space and water heating, switching and the transport. And the top yellow area is discarded power. So we could have generated, but we had too much power coming in at those times. So we had to discard that. So in the future versions, we'll be looking at trying to lower the amount of discarded power. And when I say discarded, it means wind turbines are turned out of the wind or solar thermal mirrors are defocused. So we could have generated, but didn't have a demand to match. And that's because we have to meet our peak scenario, which is in winter. And you can see there's a small amount of crop residual co-firing in the middle for the solar thermal plants. And so this is we see it as a big manufacturing and construction job. So we need something like 600,000 heliostat mirrors per year and 30 concrete towers for the solar thermal. So a concrete tower takes about 6 weeks. It's a continuous pour concrete tower. It's not too big a job. 600,000 heliostats will market 1 million cars. And I can tell you a heliostat is a hell of a lot easier to build than a car. So we can do 600,000 heliostats per annum when we sell 1 million cars. And this is the kind of factory. 4 of these. This is a real factory already operating and set up by the company that we chose for the turbines in Portugal. And 4 of those factories would do the job to roll out this whole plan. And Portugal's not a big place. It's only got like 6 or 7 million or something population. And so here's the labour requirements. We're talking 20,000 people in the current domestic supply of fossil fuel energy, and that would rise to 40,000 jobs to provision the same thing in electricity. Construction, 80,000 at the peak of peak construction workforce. It'd be growing at under 20,000 jobs per annum, and the construction industry before the GFC in Australia was growing at 50,000 jobs per annum. So again, it's well within the capability of what's being demonstrated in the Australian economy. And here gives you an idea of what it looks like. In mining, there's 190,000 workers at the bottom. That's all mining. We're not talking about coal, just all mining. 1 million in construction, similar in manufacturing and professional services. And in the green on the top, we've just showed what the zero carbon plan would require in labour terms. We looked at concrete, 8% of the nation's current use of concrete over 10 years. Obviously expand the concrete sector or find savings. Steel about 20%, but if you include the net steel produced from our iron ore exports, well, it's a sliver. It's not that much steel. And this is the cost reduction curves that we followed from the Sandia National Laboratory. So they looked at what it takes to get the price of solar thermal down, and we actually rode their curve and with a bit of conservatism towards that, but we rode their curve in country in Australia. So we showed how once you build one project after another, the workforce can move from one site to the next, so you don't have to hire them and then fire them. If you build your manufacturing plant to run 6 days, 3 shifts, and you've got enough customer to do that, then that gets the cost right down. And so we show that detailed work. And so basically, $37 billion a year. We currently spend $54 billion a year on new cars. We spend about $38 billion on insurance. It's a $1,200 billion economy. So we're talking 3% of GDP. It's a stimulus, a good stimulus and a good direction to be entering, given the world global market is entering this way, and Australia can have a part of that. Our lead engineering companies have been a part of building the global fossil fuel infrastructure. Are we going to be a part of building the global renewable infrastructure? If we bury our heads in the coal mine, then maybe not. If we get on board, then that's our piece of the global market. So I'll just fast forward to the end. Oh, no, I'll show you something. So basically, if you include the projected cost of oil, and we went fairly conservative, we're well ahead into the trillions of dollars, or $1.5 trillion, in a business as usual versus Zero Carbon Australia project. And that's mostly because of the cost of importing the oil. It's a very, very variable cost. We can't predict it. We're fully hedging our energy. So it's not like the petrol browser where the price has ranged in my lifetime from gas at 8 cents per litre up to pay 56, or petrol at 30 or whatever, and it's gone up to $1.50. We're talking the light switch, we'll have confidence in the cost, so Australian families, Australian industry will always know the cost when they press the light switch. The current system doesn't give us that. Coal and gas are linked to international markets, and they'll be just like the petrol bowser. So this is an option to get off that and to secure Australia's future. So it's our choice. We can either build 1 square metre of mirror surface, or we can choose to burn 20 tonnes of coal over a 30-year economic life of that mirror. So, put it another way, if we choose not to install that metered square of mirror, we choose to burn the coal. Thanks.
Alright, so Matt's told you in detail about the full mainland plan that we've done, and I guess the point of this is to show the work and the depth of the work, which is we'll try to do a lot of analysis into answering a lot of the questions that people have about such a scenario, because obviously as you start talking about it, there are all sorts of questions that pop into people's heads, and the full plan answers a lot more than we can explain in this short time. Now, as you may have noticed, there wasn't a lot of focus on Tassie. In fact, we didn't really have much on the map we had before. That's not because we're neglecting it, but because we know it's actually a very unique situation. The solar thermal, which is the main balancing renewable that we've focused on the mainland, won't really apply in Australia. There's definitely still room to put plenty of solar photovoltaics, solar hot water on houses. Places like Germany, which have a even worse solar resource, and Tasmania have like 12,000 megawatts of PV installed already. So there's plenty of that, but you're still going to need a more reliable source that can balance out the intermittency in other generation. But so Tassie is in fact lucky enough to have that because we do have hydropower. Now in this we will not be proposing any new dams, but there is an existing there is existing hydro dams, and they're also very good at balancing the intermittency of other renewables. So what I'm going to share with you today is just a few of the ideas that we're looking into for the Tasmanian scenario. We have not yet done the detailed modelling and analysis in the same way that we have the zero carbon plan, but I just want to share a few of the things we're going through with the methodology, and we're hoping to work more with the local Tasmanian industry to develop these ideas more. So the benefit, of course, is of using wind is that you're not, but from understanding what's going on with the climate studies, the existing hydro system isn't going to be able to get much more in terms of total energy per year. You're kind of limited by how much water's in there. It may decline in the future, but when you have high penetrations of wind power, basically when the wind's blowing, it means you don't need the hydro, and you can save it for later, so it can extend the life of your water reserves. The key thing is you need to look at what's actually going to happen to energy demand, and we're looking at a similar scenario of what we did in the zero carbon plan of replacing all fossil fuels. So currently, there's a fair bit of electricity in Tasmania shown in blue, but there is coal use, there is now gas. Now you have the import pipeline, and of course there's all the oil that you use for transport. So even though electrification can get more efficient, it's still likely you're going to need more electricity in the future, even taking into account efficiency measures. So there's plenty of low-hanging fruit, we're just being told about today, to become more efficient in your homes, in industry, in businesses, and to do things like on-site solar, but you're still likely going to need more electricity in the future. So a key thing there is electric vehicles, and the numbers on this graph are relatively conservative. They're not to the full depth of what we've done in the other plan. I've just done some numbers on just switching to electric vehicles. Now there's potentially scope for a bit of public transport in perhaps Hobart wants us to reduce the energy demand there further. Electric vehicles also are very good in helping to manage renewable intermittency, because you can charge them when there's plenty of wind blowing, and when it drops off a bit you can stop charging, and it won't actually contribute to high peaks of electricity.